People need to understand us before they really start to pile on the hate.
This is who we are, this is where we came from, and this is what we're going to continue doing. Liberals can say whatever they want.
Liberals are for tougher gun laws. Conservatives are for weaker gun laws.
Their agenda is to get rid of all firearms. I have no doubt about that.
It doesn't matter what you've done or what you try and do to us. We are never going to give up.
These guns make it easier to commit mass murder.
You know, there's change in the air, and it's going to get better.
We believe in everyone's right to own firearms in Canada, and we don't fall for the Liberals' pandering.
I'm Tamara Ugolini for Rebel News here in Mississauga, Ontario at the International Centre for TACCOM, the Tactical and Competitive Shooting Sports Show. We're here to talk to gun owners, gun advocates, and everyday people who care about the rights and freedoms of Canadians to own guns in this country. This is Canada's largest gun show, held from September 6th to 8th. This is 2024, it's the 5th year running, so we're going to head on inside and see what the attendees have to say as the Liberals routinely and repetitively try to come after their guns. Let's check it out.
So we're a Toronto-based tactical nylon gear manufacturer. We manufacture high-end tactical equipment, so anything from plate carriers, helmet covers, slings, pouches, accessories like that. We also do laser cut patches. We're based in Mississauga. We use all American made material, so it's very compliant, US manufactured, high-end Cordura, laminates, webbing, Velcro, stuff like that. Ship everything to Canada. It's all made here, so it's cut and sewn locally.
I'm Rick from Canada's National Firearms Association. We're here at TACCOM 2024. And we're here because we are Canada's largest gun lobby. We're here to get the word out about guns, gun rights, and why we need to make some big changes so law-abiding Canadians can keep their firearms.
My name's Amanda Lynn Mayhew. I own a company called Just Hunt, and I have a program called Take Me Hunting, as well as a TV show, That Hunting Girl, on Sportsman Channel. My whole thing on what I do, and the biggest part of what I do, is teaching people how to hunt, making people understand education and motivation in getting into the outdoors, educating them on firearm safety. I also run a range day, which is the pre-intro to Take Me Hunting. So letting people know that firearms is a tool used in our hunting world, and it is something that we need to hunt with, and making sure that our heritage just doesn't disappear.
The Canadian Shooting Sports Association has been around for 60 years. What we do is we fight for our members' rights advocacy group. We don't have a registered lobbyist, and it kind of works for us, so that's what we do. We also offer our members $5 million liability insurance. We really support everything that we can to promote, protect, and preserve our firearms rights.
We are the Ontario's Firearm Safety Education Service of Ontario, and we're the sole service provider, Tamara, for all Canadian firearm safety courses in Ontario. So our instructors that are members of our organization will be the ones that the public would go to obtain a firearms course. And so we work very closely with the Chief Firearms Office in Ontario.
Most recently, the Liberals have been urged to ram through more legislation and gun regulations to stop domestic violence. What do you make of this?
Well, it's funny because those are measures that were within C-21. That bill's already passed, it's received royal assent, but of course the implementation of each measure is usually done through regulation, through OIC. And it's sort of telling to me, you know, as much as the Liberals beat up on gun owners and they ban our stuff and we're just bombarded constantly, these little things that might actually have some sort of positive impact for women, they can't get it done, right? At the same time, everything in those measures already exists within the existing regime.
They're a bit drunk on that one. It's nothing to do with any of the people here. The criminality is coming straight out of the United States. They're smuggling handguns over. It's people that don't go through the vetting process, the legislation, and all that stuff. If you ask anybody here who's got their RPAL, and if they've got any of the AR platforms, they've been sitting at home for 2 years gathering dust. Some guys have guns that have been sitting longer than that, gathering dust. They haven't done anything wrong. and they just like to go to the range, shoot with their buddies, maybe grab dinner afterwards, and just generally be good people.
I think it's pandering to low information voters. I think that Canadians understand that the gun crime in Canada is coming from smuggled guns from the U.S. They're off the books, off the records, has nothing to do with legal Canadian firearms owners. And us, as Barrage Designs, we're a pro-gun company. We believe in everyone's right to own firearms in Canada, and we don't fall for the Liberals' pandering.
There's the classic Liberal go-to. Stop, push more gun law through to stop domestic violence. The fact of the matter is, domestic violence is always going to be there, and 99.9% of the time it doesn't involve a firearm. But the way the Liberals look at it, and they say, well, you know what? There's a gun in the house, and typical Liberal logic is, well, if there's a gun in the house, there's potential to use that gun in a bad way. Everybody knows that Canadian gun owners they're vetted. We're vetted every day. We're the most safe people, I believe, in Canada.
We are actually throwing a Women's Day shoot in September, and all of the proceeds are going to a women's shelter for domestic violence. So that's what I kind of got to say about that. Women's rights are firearms rights as well, right? So that's what we do. We're trying to promote that.
We know how important it is to keep our communities safe. We know that there are many, many elements to reflect on, from intimate partner violence to mental health to guns and gangs. We know that there is always more that we need to do as a society, and that's why, as a federal government, we're proposing to move forward with some of the strongest gun control measures in years in this country.
And I know this is something, the rhetoric you hear often, but these regulations and restrictions on gun owners will somehow curb gang-related crime. Why is that not correct?
Well, I can tell you, we've got 9 years of evidence and data now to look at, right? So we've had an unfriendly, hostile, Liberal government who's done nothing but just hit it to gun owners. At the same time, they've introduced and passed both C5 and C75, which was legislation that softened and lessened sentences for some very serious violent gun crimes. So the results are in, and it's been a massive, bloody, tragic failure. Gun crime is up all across the country. Violence is up all across the country. We've never been more violent than we are now, and the evidence is clear and overwhelming that it isn't licensed gun owners.
Big misunderstanding between firearm owners here and the guys you're seeing in Toronto, or the guy at the Peach Festival most recently, because I live in Hamilton. It's not the same thing. The people here are responsible. We go through the vetting process. We go to licensed ranges. We do everything we can, and we're productive members of the community. We try to contribute.
I call it going into the Stone Ages with Liberal laws, changes all the time, basically persecuting firearms owners in Canada. We at Canada's National Firearms Association will we'll do our best to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Guns are responsible for climate change. I was just at the United Nations a few weeks ago, and that was one of the comments, that guns are responsible for climate change. I almost fell out of my chair. It was unbelievable. And that's, till we get a change in government and we work with a new government, this is going to continue. So
Hunting's not going anywhere, and neither are we. This is who we are, this is where we came from, and this is what we're going to continue doing, and it doesn't matter. Liberals can say whatever they want.
The people breaking the laws don't follow the laws, right? They're not the registered gun owners. They're not the ones getting their background checks every single day like legal firearm owners.
I think the Liberals' narrative on blaming gun owners and their legal guns, that it's over. They've exhausted those efforts. The results have been a disaster, and Canadians are ready to have, the safety and return to the streets of their towns and cities all across the country.
Firearm community contributes, I think, if memory serves, $8 billion a year to our economy, which is, I'm sure everyone's aware, is kind of in the right now. Wouldn't it be great if we could say, hey, let's bring in the American hunters, let's bring in the guide, let's do all the food stuff, let's, a show like this should be bringing in tons of money.
Liberal rhetoric continues, and it's a big scare tactic is what it is. What's happening is the more and more legislation they're laying down, which most of it is ludicrous, we all know that, they're scaring people into submission, and that's what they want.
Don't listen to rumors and hearsay and all that stuff. Go out and find out for yourself. If you want to get into hunting, do your research, call people, talk to people, visit shows, and ask questions. So, because we're all here ready to teach you.
I think that Canadians believe in their rights, they believe in firearms ownership, and they're interested in military equipment for their own personal use. And we haven't seen any kind of a change. People are committed to buying goods that they're allowed to have, and we support our customers.
We've had a lot of people even coming to us today at the booth who all of a sudden were so excited to get into the sport and get into shooting and hunting. And they've become discouraged because of all of these laws that are coming in restricting them, knowing that we're not the problem. And so we've had a lot of people voicing this concern today about not being able to get their handguns and afraid of what's going to happen to the rifles and shotguns next.
Over the last few years, we have had a little bit of fluctuation, even through COVID, but we are seeing a constant slight increase in the interest for firearm courses and licensing through Ontario.
How has that fear-mongering that's being pushed through by the Liberals around legal gun ownership and lawful gun ownership affected the people who own guns and the people who may want to come into gun ownership in the future?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a heck of a thing to be a gun owner in Canada these last 9 years. And I think it is, for most people would be, dissuaded from getting involved in this because of everything that's involved, everything that's happened, everything that's going on, the ever-changing regulations. You can own this, you can't own that, now it's banned, now it's not banned. It's almost impossible to keep up with it. But that's not how it's panned out. In fact, we have never had more licensed gun owners in this country than we have now. And in fact, for a government who profess to, reduce the amount of guns in this country, albeit just the legal ones, they completely failed at that as well. Because Canadians have never been more armed than they are right now under a Trudeau Liberal government.
I don't believe the Liberals thing is about public safety. I believe it's about votes and it's about money. I don't think it has anything to do with public safety. If it had to do anything with public safety, they'd be out there chasing the real criminals, not going after law-abiding Canadians.
It's probably going to get worse before it gets better, but it will get better. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And when things open up again, and the freeze comes off the handguns, and our black guns come out of the safes all across the country and back out to the range where we can enjoy our sport, the lineup to get a restricted firearm license will be massive.
First of all, I'd like to thank Rebel News because they're on our side. They're not afraid to get out and say things the way they are. Mainstream media, you know what I say? It's government-controlled mainstream media. Don't listen to them. Get out there, get in the fight, get your licensing, join an organization, join Canada's National Firearms Association, and dig in and get into the fight. We're not going to make any difference unless people start standing up for themselves. I'm done with this attitude, well, you know what, I'm just going to bow down to the man. That's a 70s expression. I'm going to bow down to the man. We're not going to bow down to the man. We're going to go out there, we're going to stand our ground, and we're going to take this as far as we can take it within the law. We're going to stay within the law, but we're going to take this as far as we can take it. And myself, the NFA, my people are not giving up. We're here for the long run, and that's what we're going to do.
The Justin Trudeau Liberals are being described as the most aggressively anti-gun government in Canada's history. If you agree and you oppose their gun grabs and continued legislation, head on over to handsoffourguns.ca. There you can sign our petition, you can support our work, and you can sign up so you never miss a report just like this. All of that at handsoffourguns.ca.